Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Weddings Unscripted. You might notice my voice is a little wonky today because I'm sick, but I am just powering through. I'm Kristin Kaplan, and I've got with me my co-host in the Wedding Business Bosses, Ginny Krauss, and we have a special guest again. We have CeCe with us, who's one of our favorite people in the wedding industry. She is a wedding designer and florist and does absolutely gorgeous work. And she's just been a great voice in our industry in helping other people and teaching other people. And CeCe, you had a big year of speaking and teaching all sorts of good stuff. She's like, there goes my phone.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
That's why we do this live. It's so
right.
cool.
She's so busy.
But that didn't work so well.
Yeah.
It's fine. Well, CeCe, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and your business and kind of how you got here.
Okay, awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. And yes, I am a special event floral designer and event designer. We're based out of Birmingham, Alabama. I say I go anywhere the blooms go, even though I'm based in good old Alabama. And I tell people I make all things beautiful. And I also own a prop rental company, a creative studio for wedding industry people, and I am a speaker in the wedding industry. So yeah.
You do all the things.
All the things.
And she's one of our ambassadors for Wedding Business Bosses.
Yes.
We don't even know how she has time. Yeah.
I know.
Well, that's like my favorite week. Like when I get to be an ambassador, which is why I still did it at the beach on vacation.
I know. It was great.
She did.
Like, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So,
We love it when you hop in live. And that's kind of what's, prompted us to ask you to join us today was last week in the group, you led an amazing Facebook Live, and we just love what you were talking about. So we wanted to bring that conversation here because I think it's so important that our industry really hears that, which is this idea of why it's so important to take risks in your business and to move past any fears that you have, because we are now at a place where the industry is shifting a bit, and it's always been an oversaturated industry. So if you're going to just play it safe and, take your time with everything and just kind of hang out in the background, like you're not going to get very far in this business. You really have to be willing to step out in fear, take risks, do big things. And so, yeah, we wanted to dive into that and maybe share some different things that we've all done in our businesses and some experiences we've had. So, CeCe, we'll start with you. What would you say, thus far, one or two of the biggest sort of risks that you've taken and how they've paid off?
Okay, so I am we've had this conversation before. I am a full throttle kind of gal. I don't know if anybody has picked up.
Really? I would have never thought that.
Yeah, right? You'd never thought it.
Yeah.
And because I have very good insight into myself, I know that for me to just like, if I'm going to go, I know I'm going to go like all in. Like, it's just going to be like crazy. I'm like blinders. And so, I knew that about myself. So probably the biggest risk I took was even starting this business. And y'all always say I'm extremely transparent. I had been fired from like every job I ever had.
What?
Yeah, within reason. I mean, like, I think there were a couple I quit because I got bored, but all the rest of them I got fired from.
Of course you did.
And it was just because, I had an original singing career and that didn't pan out. And like I said on the live the other day, everything else just came in second place. So I was just kind of like, through everything until I found this. And I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like, that was not, I know that's so weird, but that was never a goal of mine. So when this was brought to the table by my mother, I was like, and I'll be honest, I was like, do I want that much responsibility? Like,
It's a lot of work.
can I just work for somebody else? But she just kept pushing, and I just kept not finding any other option. So probably the biggest fear was, am I going to do this, and am I going to be excellent at it? Because if I don't feel like I'm going to be excellent at it, I'm like, I just don't think I'm there. So I decided probably the biggest fear was just to jump just good old straight into that. And the way I overcame it was, like I said on the live the other day, when you have a baby to feed and you have mouths, I needed money. I knew I was good at it. I knew I could make some kind of money at it. So I was just like, all right, so it's either this or going back to another job I'm going to hate, and I probably more than likely I'm going to get fired at. So I was just jumped for it. So that was probably the first entering into.
Yeah, right.
But honestly, after you have a baby, like, fear is like, what? No.
Right.
I can do
Like,
anything.
I'm not a baby.
yeah. I'm good.
Bring
it.
And then probably the second biggest fear I remember was moving into this space, because I had everybody saying I shouldn't. And that is a whole nother component of fear I didn't really talk about, is that, you know, it's one thing when you believe it, but when everybody else is telling you no, and you have to go with that inner, like, oh, but y'all were wrong. And like that just compiles the fear. And so that was huge, because at the time I was 2 years into our business. I was growing like weeds. We were over my mother's 3-car garage. Now, let's just be legit. My mom has a palatial mansion, so this was not a bad place to be. But it was like up a flight of stairs, and it was like her craft room that I turned into my studio, and it wasn't a legit place to meet my clients. And it just, I didn't have a cooler. I was still having to work out of the wholesale house too. And I was just like, y'all, we need a space. And they were like, no, we don't.
We're fine right here.
Like, this is free, and that costs money.
So it sounds like this was a pivotal moment when you really went from, I'm kind of running my design business as a side hustle, to like, no, it's time to get serious.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just could, you know, of course I couldn't be there at midnight still working if I needed to at my mom's house. She threw us out. You know what I'm saying? So there was just so many kind of constraints. And for me to run, and I think what was a huge pivotal moment, like you just said, is I lost a wedding. It was a wedding I knew about through some mutual friends, and they were like, it's going to be huge, and we referred you. And then somebody else was like, it's going to be huge, and we referred you too. And the wedding planner never even brought her to me. And I was so angry over it. Wow. And I was like, and finally I just had a moment of like realization, well, like, yeah, like, granted, my mom's house is nice and all, but if I don't look like I can handle that caliber of wedding yet. Like, I'm running a show out of my mom's up. Like, it's not even my house. Like, I was like, I don't present myself as the type of person that can handle that quality of wedding. So I quit being mad at her and started like reflecting. I don't even know.
What can I do to change
your
this?
brand presence, your business presence of like what you are putting out there to the world, because what you put out is what you receive. And that is such a good point.
Yeah, so that was huge for me. And that's when I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that we had to get out of here. Like, and it was going to require money and a monthly, payment and power. And I mean, I like lost batches of hair just over the stress and the fear, like I said, and I literally had to go hardcore sell my parents. It's not that I'm like a child, but they were investors in the business with me. So I had to like had to sit down and almost do a PowerPoint presentation on like why we had to move. And just a quick funny story, my stepdad is an attorney, and he's one of the biggest attorneys in Birmingham and has an amazing like credentials. Line just goes
don't cross CeCe. No.
Yeah. No. And and so what I did is I sat down with them and I said, and after all the reasons why I like listed out why I should move, I said, let me ask you a question. And I looked at my stepdad and I said, so you're one of the best lawyers in Birmingham? And he was like, yes, I am. And I was like, so do you think that you would still have the same kind of resume and where you are today if clients were coming to meet you at home? I was like, if you
versus at your practice and your concierge.
Right. And you just ran your law firm out of your house, even with all your fancy credentials and the nice house that you live in. I was like, do you really, honest to God, think that you would be acknowledged as the attorney that you are? I said, or does it make a huge deal that you have this gorgeous law firm downtown and with all your plaques and stuff on it? And he was like, all right. He was like,
you sold me.
We'll talk about it later. Like, me and mom will talk about it. And like within the hour, they called me back and they were like, all right, go for it. Because I mean, I had to put it in perspective for him.
Right.
Yeah. And then the fear really began when they said yes.
And I feel like this all reminds me of one of my favorite podcasters, James Wedmore, talks about this a lot, which is this idea, which you kind of mentioned, CeCe, of you have to be thinking ahead to where you want to be and what that looks like.
Building the brand.
The decisions, that you want to make in your business. So you need to start thinking like you did, okay, if I want to be this florist that wins these big accounts and I have to have a studio. So like that florist has a studio space. That florist has XYZ. That florist has this branding. And I've got to put myself in that position to do it. And that requires, like Ginny said, building a bridge and making that leap to that future thing. So sometimes if you're sitting there going, but I want this and I want that, but I'm not there yet. Well, start doing those things. Start putting your money where your mouth is.
But it's so amazing to me what you just said, Kristin, is how many people, like the whole online space, you know, how many people that you look at and you think, oh my gosh, like they have it going on. I want to be like them. I am nothing compared to them. And then you get on the phone, or you get in masterminds with people, or you work with people, and you realize the playing level is the same. The sandbox is the same for everyone.
They all got the same hours in the day.
Everybody has the same struggles. Everybody has the same hours in the day, Kristin. And, you know, so many of my clients that I work with, branding wise, a lot of what rebranding is infusing that self-confidence into someone to where they have a brand to where they can outwardly show it and be proud of it and be confident. And it's almost like giving them the key to the gate to just run and finally say, this is me, this is who I am. And that's really all it comes down to. It's not that you were less than anyone. It's you've got to find that within, and then you have to, you know,
get that courage to just
get that courage.
Go for it.
Exactly. And build that. Why can't you? You know, why can't your brand be
like start
just
doing
as
things
awesome as everyone else? And
and I really feel like most people, when I talked about this in the live, I really feel like so many people have, like I said, a side hustle. And I really think the whole reason, I mean, it's just my opinion, that the people have the side hustles because they don't believe enough in themselves yet.
Yes.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah. Like you've got to handle, you know, they're waiting for somebody to hand them the keys to the, like, you got this, go girl.
Here's the full-time job. But it's like, no, you actually have to take the leap yourself and jump and go. And you know, if you hustle and you work hard and you make smart choices, like you'll get there, but it's always this side hustle, or it's always this.
No one's going to ever believe in you more than you believe in yourself.
Yeah. Maybe your mama.
Exactly. Your mama. Yes. At the end of the day, I know 110% that, you know, my success and my failures are mine.
Yeah.
And, you know, as far as I'm going to go, it is me taking me in the driver's seat, and, you know, vice versa. And I think everybody, you know, just really owning it. And yes, some people are, not everybody can be CeCe, you know, with your confidence and, you know, I mean, you're upstage in Colin Cowie and, you know, we get it, you know, no, everybody can't be as outgoing as that. But you don't have to be.
You still have your own great thing.
You can have your own great thing about what makes you different. We're not saying you got to be bubbly and bright and shout out to the world, but everybody is unique to your own personal story and your own journey, and finding the things that you don't know and what you need to know in your business. And then, you know, finding ways to invest. And, you know, Chris and I say time and time again, investing doesn't always mean money. It can mean time. You know, if you don't know how to use, you know, WordPress or Facebook, or you want to be a floral designer, but you've really never done it. Well, you know, there's floral design workshops that you can attend. Yeah.
You can go learn. Yeah. So if you're looking at someone else going, I wish I had the ability to design flowers the way she does, or I wish I had the studio space, go do it. Go get that experience. Go sign the lease, like make it happen. Stop just, like you said, waiting for somebody to come hand it to you, because that's never going to happen. And I think that's where everyone gets stuck, is just like, oh, it's scary, and I'll just stay over here then because I don't want to.
CeCe, when it comes to your actual craft, so not your business, just your design craft, have you made other like, did you just get it all from your mama? Is that like real? Or, you know, what other learning and experiences or investments like have you made in order to further your skills?
Well, so there's been, you know, I did not get off. My mama actually wasn't a floral designer. My grandmother was, but my mama was just like me. She was like, there's nothing I can't do that's craft worthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got this. So yes, I invested in, you know, I tell people this all the time. I worked for 4.5 years running a flower shop. And so I felt like that was the best floral, like, education you could ever get, because after you've made 120 floral sprays for a casket or a casket cover, you're just like, I can do anything. It like all the mechanics are applicable into what I do today. So I felt like, and then I still continued to work freelance on and off for different flower shops for almost 15 years. So once I started my own business, I knew I had the structure. Like, I knew I had the base, the foundation. Then it was just constantly keeping up with like the wedding industry from when I came in, like from when I was in it, like working in it full time, to when I did, was like a world I didn't know. So I had to like quickly, like, my old school designs weren't going to get it anymore. So I had to, you know, do a lot of watching videos, finding out who were the names, the big names, and who were the players, and who was everybody watching. And then I was going to watch them, and then I was making friends with everybody and wanting them rolling through my feed. So there was a lot of figuring out who those people were. Then it was a lot of, you know, as much as I say, don't base your whole entire like background on you've learned it on a video, but when you have a good foundation of floral design, then it's just kind of keeping up with new trends and new designs and the new way of doing things. So there was a lot of video watching. Then there was a lot of, yes, investing in going in person. This is one thing I say to people all the time. You can watch my videos all day long of me giving out free whatever, but if you don't ever take the time to pay and go learn part of it or the foundation of it, which has to be done a lot of times in person, you're missing half of the education part. Like, there's videos not only going to get you so far. They're great, but they're only going to get you so far if you're not doing some kind of hands-on in-person training in my field. So yeah, then I went and saw Sarah Campbell and I did some stuff from her. And what's been really awesome for me is speaking everywhere, because everywhere I go, I'm with great floral designers, and I'm learning just as much from these educational places that I am pouring into other people. I am being poured back into from all the people that surround me that are amazing designers and great. So I learned just being around them and watching the other people on the panels that I'm on. So it's like constant that I'm getting.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is, I mean, investing in experiences and people, whether it's an online group coaching program or, you know, where you're pouring into people like that, and then you take that offline and go to an experience together. Like Kristin and I, we actually, you know, met more online, and then we started a business together before we ever met in person, and we went to the Savvy experience. And that's the first time we'd ever met in person, and we'd already been legally bound by contract for a year, you know? So it was crazy.
Y'all took the lead.
We took a lead, exactly.
You did not wait until you were like, well, let's meet in person.
Right. We could have played that so safe and just been like, we'll wait to the right time. Let's just think about it for a while. Like,
our husbands probably would have preferred that. They're like,
you're going into business with someone you've never met.
Yeah, and she lives in Germany. What?
Yeah. Greg's kind of that sounding
board. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry.
It's fine. We're good.
Do that. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
But we really could have. Yeah, we could have really hesitated, but instead, like, we went with our gut. We knew that we were on to something. We knew that the industry had a hole, and that we were both capable of filling it. And we could have either done that individually on a smaller scale, or we could have combined forces, and we could have actually made an impact in other people's businesses. Yeah. And truly, at the end of the day, it wasn't about like which of us wanted to get more recognition. It was about how many people we could impact and how many businesses we could impact. And it was just natural that we were better together.
Yeah. And we really didn't hesitate. Like, we just were like, all right, we're doing this. Like the Facebook group, and I think like days later, because I'd already kind of got the beginning of the Facebook group going. I was like, here, Ginny, you are now a co-admin. Like, and then we just rolled with it. And it was like, we started putting together the Wedding Business Academy. We just never stopped to get scared or to let any.
Now we're doing Weddings Unscripted, which is crazy to me.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how you have to be. I mean, I think you have to have a sense of like, you know, I tell people all the time, fear is there for a reason.
Don't be dumb.
Like, it keeps us from jumping out of a plane without a parachute.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, it's kind of like, but you know, a lot of times I think the majority of the fear we bring on ourselves. And I think what was a huge, like, even awakening for me was when I made the realization, I mean, and I have to talk I have to talk my own talks to myself all the time. Like, let's be legit.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be like, and then I'm like, no, but in wedding business bosses, you told everybody
that they had to do this.
Yeah, so I have to like talk myself down off the ledge, or a lot of times Greg's like, well, the other day when you said, and I'm like,
But you told everybody else to do X, Y, Z.
I saw you. I saw that live.
I have to have that conversation all the time with myself. But I think that if you would just go for it, like, and if you would just realize, like I said, a huge awakening was when I realized that failure, and I know this is going to sound so like inspirational book, but if you would just look at failure, it's not a bad thing. Like, if you would just look at failure as like, what am I going to get out of this? Like, all failure is a learning experience to me. I got like I can either just cry about it in my milk, or I can learn from it. And let me tell you, very rarely have I ever failed at the same thing twice.
Right.
Because you miss that opportunity, and it really is an opportunity. Failure really is an opportunity.
It really is the next door.
Right. If you look at that and you learn from it, let me tell you, that is how I am today. I tell people all the time, I am so good at preaching this because I failed. Failure is your education. I am brilliant because I failed so much but the key proponent is learning from it. Like, what went wrong? How do I fix it? And how do I never be back here again? And if you do that, you will just blossom. Like, there's just no stopping you. And I think what holds people back is people that just get bogged down in the failure. They get too much of the like, oh, I suck, I'm horrible, I should have never done this.
5 inquiries, not one of them booked.
No.
I'm not cut out for this then. Yeah.
Yes. And that's honest to God, I feel like that's just Satan trying to keep you from just greatness.
Yes.
Exactly. You gotta fight back, and you gotta just keep going and keep taking those risks in your business. Because kind of, as we said in the beginning of this, if you're going to sit on the sidelines and you're going to play it safe, everyone's going to beat you. Everyone's going to get ahead of you. So if you're not willing to also take those risks and, like we said, look at, okay, what are the people doing, or where is the place I want to be? Go be in that place. Go make that stuff happen, and stop, like you said, letting all these fears and all these, but what if this happens? What if that happens? Or what if I'm not good enough? All of that play into it.
But honey, what if you are?
Exactly.
Right. And I really feel like if you aren't, like that was hard for me to say the other day on the live when my husband loves Gary Vee. Do y'all know who he is? We love Gary Vee. Outside the man's horrible language, I just love how he says 90% of what every human being wants to say.
Yes.
And so it was very hard for me to say it the other day when I was like, maybe you aren't just good enough. And a lot of times people have to have that introspection. Like, they have to realize that to not, and I wasn't saying that to people like, you're not good enough, get out. I'm saying that like, you're not good enough, but you can be.
Right. You're not there yet.
Really,
but you can get there.
Right. There's really nothing you can't get better at. I mean, you might never be the best, but if you're not on a preferred list, you're probably not good enough. So you got to get better.
That's right.
If people aren't referring you, you're probably not good enough yet. So you got to get better. But I see so many people ask, like, why am I not on this list? And why aren't they referring? They're asking this advice. I'm like, there's nothing I can tell you except
and everybody's not great at everything. There's plenty of things in our businesses that, I need to get better at. But it's the fact that, guess what? I know what those are. Or I've invested in people enough for them to tell me what those are. Right. And then I've made a plan, or I've learned it, or, what I mean? And it's not overnight. Like, I can't just snap my fingers and be great at everything tomorrow, but I can pick those focus areas of what I need to be learning right now and what I need to be improving on right now to implement for 2018 that is going to have a direct impact on my business. And it's just, really defining that.
Right.
If you're someone that you say, you wish you knew more about, centerpieces, or you wish it could be your craft itself or the business side of it, or saying, I know my marketing's terrible, I wish I knew more about social media. Well, go learn it. Like, there's tons of opportunities to learn all of this stuff and to get better, or have someone teach you. whatever you got to do. But I think
Or
we all
have
keep
someone
living
do
in
it
that.
for you.
Yeah, or just pay
Or
someone.
hire somebody to do it for you.
Correct.
That too.
Yeah, I want to be like, where is Greg? Is he there? Because I feel like I need to say hi to him. He is such
Not
support in our group. Yeah.
Going to get our child. So yeah, it's so funny. He's just an integral part of the group as I am, because he's
I love Greg.
I know. We have to have him on a whole episode.
Yeah, we can do a whole future one to get Greg on.
Our
here.
wedding business boss, official male.
Because you're like one of the only like couples in the wedding business.
Right?
Bosses.
We're the husbands of the wedding business bosses live.
Exactly.
That would be pretty
Instead
funny.
of the wives, it's all the husbands.
It's all the husbands.
Yeah, exactly. You know how they have like the Instagram husbands? Greg's our wedding business.
Our wedding business boss
husband.
husband.
I mean, Greg saved my life by her, like, just giving it away. Now, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, I know not everybody has a husband they can hand that off to, but they have a Jenny. I mean, there's somebody out there.
People out there that can help you.
Hey, Kristin and I make both our husbands work in our business. They get fired from wedding business bosses.
They're our tech department.
Yeah. They love to hate us during launch week.
During launch weeks especially.
Because no matter how much we can prepare, we can't prepare for the tech issues. And
we're going to do a whole episode about that launch at some point soon.
Yeah.
I swear, every time I go live for somebody else, something doesn't go right. And I'm like, really?
Like, what is going on?
Exactly.
But, well, to wrap up, first of all, CeCe, thank you so much for being here and sharing this with us. We just felt like you did such a great job last week, really touching on these points. We wanted to talk about them further, and hopefully inspire more people to get comfortable taking risks in your business. Get comfortable dealing with that fear and moving past it, because if you keep playing small and you keep sitting on the sidelines and letting that fear take hold, you're not going to get nearly as far as you could in your business. So
exactly.
And I just thought of this. I meant to tell you this before we wrap it up. But one of the things I wanted to tell people, and I think I've mentioned this before in a live previously, is that, just to touch on that last thing that I said, I quit. That was another thing too. I quit waiting and getting so emotionally upset over the people that weren't referring me for whatever reason, because I mean, there's a team CeCe and there's definitely a team somebody else in Birmingham, and that happens in a lot of places. And then people just that just happens. Yeah. So I got tired of emotionally crying and being upset and being invested, like, well, why won't they refer me? And you know what? It's that quote, and I don't mean this at all in an egotistical way, because I have so much more to learn, but it's that be so good they can't ignore you mentality. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm going to quit waiting for them to send me the business, and I'm going to make the brides want me, and then they'll just have to come along.
Yep.
Oh, I love this.
And that really changed my business too. I quit trying to schmoo. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have vendor relationships, but I used to depend on it so heavily, and I used to have a fear of, if they didn't refer me, and
I have a business,
your business is gonna crash.
Right. And I was putting my business literally in somebody else's hands. And I said, that is just stupid. Mm-hmm. So I've got to control my own destiny. And there was fear in not worrying about that so much. And I just started changing my marketing mentality to the brides, because there's nothing I enjoy more than people that don't normally refer me calling me going, well, my bride said that she can't do anything without hiring CeCe. And I'm like,
oh, really? You don't say. Yeah.
Right? And that was huge in changing a lot of the fear for me too, is I quit fearing what other people were going to bring me, and I made my own destiny, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just changed my way of thinking, because there was just so much emotion and fear and crying that was wrapped up in that. And sorry, I just wanted to throw that in.
No, that's I'm
so glad you did, because that is an excellent final takeaway. Yes.
Love it.
Well, before we hop off, CeCe, let everybody watching know where they can find you and stalk you online, because everybody needs more CeCe in their life.
Yes, they do.
Well, of course, you can always find me inside the wedding business office, because I'm always there. Just checking it out. But you could also find me on my website, which is www.ccedesignsllc.com. And then I am under the same names, Instagram, always there. I'm always doing Instagram lives or just doing my stories, which is very entertaining to me.
I never thought that I would enjoy watching someone make centerpieces for people. until I started watching.
Because you make it so entertaining.
And
like,
I literally walked through Kristin and Ashley's stork one day, and I said, when my time comes, I just want to lay down in a bed of CeCe's flowers.
Oh, yeah!
Like, I don't know who's going to make this happen, but somebody's in charge of contacting CeCe for my departure.
I got you. I'll be crying the whole time, but I got you. Yeah, I have more people that are not in the floral industry, I think, sometimes that follow me, and they're just like, you're just fun.
Oh, I know. We just like you're just so entertaining. I'll just sit there and watch.
It's just fun.
My kids will be like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "I'm just watching my friend CeCe make floral arrangements."
Yeah, so I am always doing stories. I'm always doing Instagram lives, and Facebook. I'm always on Facebook, and I'm always doing Facebook lives, and it's under CeCe Designs there on both of them. So yeah, you can come find me all the places, and then I'm speaking like a billion places coming up. So
yes.
I can
Where's
see you
the
in
next couple of places you're speaking? So this will probably air in January, February.
Okay,
end of January.
So you probably missed January then at that point, because that would have been here. We're having something here where Sarah Campbell's coming here, and then I'll go to New Orleans literally the next week and do her 2 days that's going to be in New Orleans, which is already sold out in Epic. But then I'll be at the Inspire Design Workshop in New Orleans back with Lulu, who is
one of our other ambassadors.
Ambassadors. And I'm so excited about that because like I have official title this time.
Look at you moving on up.
Legit now. Like I just got real legit. And so that'll be in March. And then I go to the Iowa State Florist Association and then back out to Wedding MBA. I don't even know if I've announced that yet. So that'll be first year. I did not fail at it. They asked me back.
They asked you back.
Yay.
I think I said it on my live the other day. So yeah, so I'll be back there in November and also at Florology out in California.
You're all over the place next year.
We're all over the place. Loving it.
Crazy.
So
well, yes, go follow CeCe and check her out, and you can take in all of her amazing lives that she does all week long.
I know, I forgot. I'll be with you in Houston. When is that?
That is March. First week of March.
Totally forgot
the Get Swanky experience.
I'll be so jealous. I won't be there.
Come on over. You'll have a baby to snuggle.
I'll have a 1 month old.
She'll have a tiny baby.
I'll be prioritizing snuggles. Yeah.
Have you stood up and shown anybody that belly yet?
I don't think you have. I think I really want to.
I showed Kristin a picture earlier. It's like
so cute. You should show her people.
I'll show you my belly if you show yours.
Got it. So, like it. All right. Well, thank you so much, CeCe, and we will chat with you soon. Bye.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course.
I love y'all.